Ladies, I have a personal question for you. Do you know where your cervix is?
Yeah, it's a pretty personal question, but it turns out to be very relevant.
That's right, because if you don't know where your cervix is, chances are you also don't know your cervical cancer risk.
So today, we're going to help increase your awareness of what cervical cancer really is and decrease some of the stigma behind cervical cancer.
First, meet a courageous mother and survivor. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Clavisha, and I am 43 years old. I am an educator. I have a master's degree in education, and I did various roles through my working years. My partner and I live in New Hampshire. We have 4 kids together. I have a daughter from a prior marriage, and we have a son together, and I have 2 stepsons. And we are a non-traditional, blended, loving family.
But in 2019, Marilys received a shocking and devastating medical diagnosis.
In September 2019, I started feeling some symptoms that were not normal, and I talked to my primary care physician. I felt that there was something else going on and that I needed the second opinion. So I advocated for myself. Sometimes you have to do that and look for answers. And I did. I reached out to my gynecologist, oncologist, and they diagnosed me with metastatic cervical cancer. When I heard the news, the first thing that comes to your mind is, as a mother, is your children. And I said, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna win this game. I started treatment and things got worse. I was not responding to the treatment. The cancer was advancing and it moved to 4 or 5 parts of my body, and my prognosis was about 18 months. It was very emotional.
But incredibly, Marilys refused to give up hope. She and her partner, Dan, began a desperate search for clinical trials and eventually found Dr. Marilyn Huang.
I first met Marilys when she had just been diagnosed with recurrent metastatic cervical cancer, which is very devastating because most women who are diagnosed with this disease have approximately less than 2 years to live. And so they were, as understandably, quite desperate and had been looking for other options for treatment.
Advocates like Marilys and Dr. Huang believe sharing the facts about cervical cancer and cervical cancer prevention is very important.
Cervical cancer arises from normal cells on the cervix that have changes that develop over time, first into precancerous or dysplastic cells, and then eventually into cancer. For most women, they're able to clear those abnormal cells on their own, but unfortunately for some women, like Marilys, their immune system is not able to, and it does progress to cancer.
Since most cervical cancers are caused by persistent infection with human papillomavirus, or HPV, and because almost all HPV transmission happens through sexual contact, cervical cancer as a whole has suffered from long-standing stigma and misunderstanding.
HPV virus is readily transmissible from any skin-to-skin contact, and there is a lot of stigma and misconceptions surrounding HPV and HPV vaccination, which is really unwarranted since anyone who has had any sexual encounter could be exposed to HPV.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, the HPV vaccine is the standard for prevention of cancers caused by HPV.
The HPV vaccine is a vaccine that helps prevent cancer-causing infections in precancers, and it is incredibly effective. Currently, the HPV vaccine is recommended for both boys and girls as routine vaccination starting at the age of 11 to 12, although vaccination can start earlier. Vaccination is recommended for everyone through age 26. The vaccination is not recommended for everyone older than age 26. Some adults that are age 27 to 45 who have not already been vaccinated might be eligible to receive the HPV vaccine based on discussions with their doctor on risks and potential benefits.
According to cervical cancer experts like Dr. Huang, awareness of screening guidelines is also important.
So over the past few years, the screening guidelines for cervical cancer have changed based on the society or organization that are providing the recommendations. However, the American College of Gynecology endorses the following from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. All women aged 21 to 65 should have regular cervical cancer screenings, and recommendations differ based on age. Women 21 to 29 should have Pap tests every 3 years, and women 30 to 64 should have Pap tests and HPV tests every 5 years. For women that are older than 65, screening may not be required if all of their screenings previously were regularly performed and all results were normal.
Despite increasing awareness, the percentage of women in the United States who are overdue for their cervical cancer screening has been growing in recent years, which is why advocates like Dr. Huang and Marillis continue to speak out.
Hi, Marilys. How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Han. How are you? I think that women needs to be aware that this is a very deadly disease and that there is an option for a vaccination that they can take from a young age. We started our treatment. It was not easy. And after 6 months, I was on remission. I'm in remission since May 2020. I was flying for my treatment to a different state, and for me, being able to use telehealth and do some of my appointments online, it was a huge benefit. And it was very sad when I end the trial. I'm now kind of on my own, and I don't see Dr. Juan every 3 weeks, so I miss her. I miss seeing all my nurses and the staff. Since 2019, every year is a blessing, and I'm thankful for that. I thank God every day. I was able to see my daughter's engagement. I was able to be at her wedding and dance at her wedding all night long. I also saw my son confirmation, so it's been a blessing for me to being able to be here and be part of all of this.
Cervical cancer is a preventable disease, so it's really important to talk to your healthcare provider about your eligibility for the HPV vaccine, as well as the screening recommendations that would be right for you. The most rewarding part of my job is to get to spending some time with these amazing women, and they are true warriors.
We'd like to thank our two wonderful cervical cancer advocates, Marillis and Dr. Huang.
And for more information about cervical cancer screening and awareness, go to survivor.org. That's CERvivor.org, and the Foundation for Women's Cancer.org.
You can also go to our website, thebalancingact.com.
So ladies, do not forget to schedule your cervical cancer screening. We'll be back right after this.